Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining in today's session. And once again, welcome you all for the second class of the MPM module. So it was really heartwarming to see so many of you all joining before the stipulated timeline. I could literally see people joining at 7:15, and they're just, prepping up. Few of your cameras were on by default, but I had to put it off. So be a bit cautious when you log in. So please ensure to mute yourself and switch off your camera and then log into the classroom, because this is auto recorded and sometimes you may have to revisit the sessions probably to understand the concepts. And it's highly important that we ensure our microphones and cam is off. And as and when required, you're free to switch it on. And by the raise of hand, probably in the sequence, I'd be calling you. So with that note, yes, how have you all been? Again, second session had given you activity as well to do. Probably you can call it as a homework. I was looking for the title. Did you make an effort? Or like Friday was busy, Saturday you were off from your work and you did not do it? Is there any positive outcome from the given activity? Yes, Tafim.
Hi. I gave it a thought, but I'm struggling with it.
All right, we'll get there.
I
Okay,
feel someone will need to hold my hand and make me cross the road for it.
certainly we'll get there. But
Thank you.
you give it a thought, and that's enough. That's enough for a good start, per se. So that's good. And I can hear someone talking, though. Okay, please ensure your microphones are off. I can hear an overlap voice. All right. So meanwhile, anyone else? Here, I see a chat appearing from Nadira. Hi, everyone. There's an automated message to let you know I'm... okay, so fine. That is an AI-generated content from Nadira's side to take the minutes. All right, no worries. Okay, so anyone else apart from the film? So Tafim said I gave it a thought, which is actually, to begin with, I would say
تسلم
a good
هندسة.
start. Yeah, Mustafa? Okay, maybe my mistake. I think then, excuse me, Saturday we take sessions generally, you're always with your family. There's a tendency probably in the background, you people are talking, and by oversight, your mic is on. I see Peter typing there. Please describe what you actually wanted us to do. Yeah, Peter. Thursday we had a session. In fact, that was the first class that I had to run through on MPM. I had asked the cohort members to come up with a tentative research topic, not the title though. I was talking with the topic. So I was trying to ask if people made an effort to bring in up the topic. So hope you got the point of discussion now. Uh-huh. So the research topic, because that's the first thing where you need to begin with your proposal. Your dissertation is going to be after your proposal clearance. So in fact, whatever you propose eventually turns out to be as part of your dissertation as well. So yes, it's for the proposal I'm looking for. Okay. Nevertheless, today I'm going to give an extension of activity because through that, like the theme was asking, I need a hand holding probably to begin with, yes. And probably this activity can help you structure a tentative outcome on what is at least expected of a proposal. So today I'm going to reflect on certain aspects. First is, again, what exactly is the title all about? And then carrying forward, I'll be re-reflecting on the research aim, objectives, questions, and then we're looking at the element of a problem statement. Also, research gap. We'll be discussing on the element of gap analysis. Of course, you need to know where the gap is with a review of the previous or existing literature, and then you can kickstart with your own study. So fundamentally, I'm going to help you run through a structure. Like I mentioned, 25% of your proposal will be out, and you should at least make a little bit of effort in giving your ideas because your area of interest, probably a sector, the contribution, and the gap within which is what we're going to revolve around and then start articulating it. And please do not have any sort of block. Whenever you start thinking, you need to brainstorm as well. As much as you brainstorm, you get to know where you stand in line with your area of interest as well. So we're going to land up there today. And yes, good evening, Avalu. So this is a research methodology in VETS. Not the methodology, though, your proposal. There's a lot of difference. Methodology gets into your analysis, other things, but fundamentally, I'm looking at the primitive aspect of your proposal. And Peter again comes, you mentioned a Word document somewhere. Where is it? The Word document is actually the proposal, which is your assignment brief, which will be part of your module kit. But today I'm going to run through an activity with a spreadsheet. So that's going to be a live spreadsheet, but I'll help you structure. With the previous activity on Thursday, I was just revisiting the page on Padlet, and I was trying to understand how you people have got the essence of certain questions that I'd posed. So nevertheless, we'll get there, and I'll also be sending a weekly email inclusive of your assignment brief, Peter. That's the document I'm talking about, and the posable attachments, which I've used in Thursday's class and which I'm going to use in today's session as well. So with that note, yes, I'm going to kickstart. And one thing I need to add is for the people of RPL, Recognized Prior Learning, we have a couple of learners from different university who have registered for Plymouth. So for you all, there is going to be a heads up. You can retain the same work of what your previous dissertation was, but then we're going to reiterate and assign you at some point of time, that is after a proposal and presentation, a supervisor who's going to guide you in a better way to articulate your work. So your piece of work would be taken from that element. And Peter, thanks. So it is in the module kit. Your module kit is made available in the LMS. Okay, so it's in your module kit. I'll definitely be attaching that in your weekly email, and probably you'll get a hang of it. Okay, I will just give you a run through. If possible from the device, I'll just attach it. because you're so keen on it. So focus on the class now, and then we'll get there. Okay? Yeah. And just for information, since you're keen, I'm attached in the proposal as well. Yeah. So post it on chat. Probably it'll take a little time to get displayed on your chat as well. So the fee has come back. We received the kit in email as well. Yeah. So Cass has sent the kit as well. Nevertheless, I have attached the proposal in chat since you're keen on it. So you can refer that at a later point of time. Currently, we'll focus on the class. Okay. So that's there. And yes, let's go ahead with today's topic facilitation. So can anyone recall what was discussed as a last element in Thursday's class? We were just running on a topic, Thursday's class. Last 15 minutes, I was emphasizing on something and I said, there's some more topics left under this banner, so I'll carry forward. So can someone recall what was it topic? Yes. Was the last topic of discussion we had? Research definition, yeah, Michael, probably that was somewhere midway through. Okay, but yeah, we did cover that element. Hypothesis. So one thing, hypothesis. This is plural, what I've typed. What Michael has typed is singular. So be a little cautious in research as well when you're getting into terminologies. Plural, like I was telling you, you'll have multiple hypotheses structured, apart from the null and alternative. You'll have H1, H2, H3, alternative hypothesis. Yes, Jonas.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. I'm not able to see the screen is moving. It is like a fixed on the class 2. Is
Yes,
it any?
I've still not gone there.
Okay.
It's the current slide says class 2, that is correct. So I thought after this question, I'll move the slide because that is a topic of discussion. So that's exactly what I'm sharing, class 2. You're correct. We'll reach there. And neither, yes, perfect. Types of research. That's where we had a pause. In fact, the classifications of research is what is trying to, yes, Richard got it right as well. So classifications of research is what is talking about. And we have a couple of more classifications left, which I would be taking through to begin with, and then we'll move on to the title, aim, objectives, problem statement, research questions, and also we'll be looking into what can fit into your title, your topic, to be precise. And independent variable, dependent, yes, we're looking into those elements as well. So, okay, that's nice. People are going furthermore to give me the classifications of research as well. That's great. So the theme, Neither, Richard, and okay, we have Michael who got it right. So thank you for that. And yes, now moving on to the slide next, we're talking about the predictive classification of research. Now, predictive, like I told you, whenever it comes to research, don't go beyond the box, thinking what this term could be. You know, sometimes you can just get along with the literal sense to understand where and what it means. So in that line, we have predictive research. Now, this predictive research is something which we fundamentally aim to forecast for the future events. You say prediction, right? So when you predict what happens, you're just trying to forecast on future events. And in research, we can classify or forecast a future event, behavior, or even an outcome, which is based on the analysis of current or a historical data. Now, what we try to do is we use statistical technique here in predictive analysis of research, especially we'll get into data modeling. That is like the intense form of research that we structure, and sometimes the indulgence of machine learning as well is taken into consideration to make informed predictions. So whenever you have to get on sort of forecast, which is centric to the future output, we can choose the option of predictive research. So let's say if I'm looking at prediction of customer churn in subscription of e-commerce platforms. So generally you look into multiple e-commerce platforms. So I need to understand on what exactly is a churn when it comes to subscribing to the e-commerce platform. So for this, I may be getting the element of predictive research. So it's highly important for me to collect the historical data. And for historical data here, especially when I'm looking at customers, it's always important for us to look into the customers' demographics as well, which ideally you people will be taking a look in your research as well. So customer, or let's say respondents demographics in your case. And since here we're talking about predictive research, you have to identify the patterns as well. So when you use statistical tools, let's say you do a regression analysis, or you use machine learning as part of the algorithms, you try to detect the trend in the consumer behaviors as well. So you have to train a model to get into the output as well, and which will help you to study to a larger extent as well. So predictive research, whenever your research is centric to something to look up to the future forecasts, and you should also have two things here, or either of the things. It is your current data or historical data, which you can utilize as a base to set the variables as well. So fundamentally, we run a statistic model and machine learning to get into predictive analytics. Malik, the attachment is just for the reference. It's actually available in the module kit. You'll find the research proposal in the module kit. So that is in your LMS. So since Peter was asking, I just have to attach it there. So sometimes if you logging in through the bio network, so you may not be able to download. So just a disclaimer there, it's available in your module kit. Nevertheless, in a weekly email, I'll be attaching the proposal as well. So let's get back to the topic and not deviate there. You will definitely get that. It's part of your proposal. Let's understand the concept and then get into the proposal. In fact, I'll be screen sharing and running through the proposal requisites as well in today's class. So let's go easy there. Now coming back on the other classification, these are the two more classifications that I'd like to highlight to you. Especially, this is very important, when you're looking at the quantitative and qualitative research, ideally, most of you in the cohort would opt between these two. And for your information, the university approves just mono method of research. So you have known now these many classifications. You are not in a position to pick and choose multiple in your basket, right? So you just got to choose one classification. That is one method of research that you'll be undertaking. So which we call it as mono method in your research methodology chapter. So quantitative or qualitative could be one of your options as well. Now, this purely depends on who your respondents are going to be, and also purely depends on the research questions that you pose. And that's how we'll end up to the classification or the method of the research as well. So let's try and understand these two terms, because at later point of time, when you get into your dissertation stage, nevertheless, even in the proposal stage, you got to propose to say which methodology you're going to opt for as part of your data collection. And it's a primary study that you need to undertake. So definitely either one of those you're going to use. The first things first, any idea? Has anyone in the class done any research in the past, or can let me know what quantitative or qualitative study is all about. Because you would definitely be doing this one classification as part of your dissertation progress. Quantitative, qualitative, yes, the theme.
From what the idea I have is that quantitative is most likely like a survey from a targeted sample, and qualitative research gets more into interviews.
Correct.
I'm not so sure. So this is what the idea I got.
That's correct. Yeah, that's right. In fact, those are the appropriate terms on the classifiers under qualitative and quantitative study, which means you can undertake qualitative study via interview, and you can undertake a quantitative study, conducting a survey as well. I'll get there. So good one there. And Sagar, number-based and date-based. Okay, number-based is for quantitative. That is correct. What is that date-based about? I'm trying to substantiate this latter for qualitative. Number-based holds good for quantitative, so I'm going to pick definitely the former one. So I got one response from the theme. The other one, Sadat. From Sadat's chat, I'm just going to take the number-based one for quantitative, unless I get a clarity on date-based. I'm not opening the fair there. Anyone else? Quantitative and qualitative? Because you're going to do the study using one of these methodologies. Okay, I'll give you clarity. Now, first of all, the approach that you undertake is where you will define which one to opt for. That is, the approach on the methodology of the data to be collected is where you will opt which one suits the best. You can't randomly say, okay, I will take quantitative because it's easy. Surveys, questionnaire, I'm just going to WhatsApp or email people and tell them to please fill my questionnaire. That request would go that way. So it's easy, but rather than qualitative, which, fundamentally are going to use a pattern of questions and then interview people. It's not that way we land upon choosing the method here. Now, first of all, I'd like to talk on the approach. Now, put yourselves in the shoes of a researcher. From now on, your approach is not like, okay, I'm going to be an MBA grad. Now, get yourself into the rhythm of a researcher. Now, if your approach on the quantitative research should you opt for, that will focus on numbers, which is when Sadat chat I came across, I said number-based holds good for quantitative study. Now, what is this numbers all about? It's measurement, statistical analysis that we get into, which means it involves collecting. Okay, Kunda, I'm just putting you on mute because I can hear you speak. She's in her own world. Okay, I'm just muting your microphone, so please be a little cautious because it disrupts the flow of the session as well. So coming back to the quantitative, we're talking about numbers. So the research focuses on numbers, which means it focuses on measurement, statistical analysis, to be precise. Now, again, the university requires the researchers to get into inferential statistics rather than descriptive statistics. Now, if you feel, okay, I collect a quantitative data and then I just reflect, which fundamentally a Google form does. Once you collect the data, you download, you export into Excel, you'll be able to look at the percentage output on the data collected. The university does not get there. The university asks at the master level that you do a inferential statistics, which means the quantitative figures that you collect should be measurable, and you need to undertake a statistical analysis, which means the collection of numerical data should apply a few statistical techniques to understand the patterns. Or if you have the hypothesis, you're going to test the patterns as well using this statistical data. So the objective of a quantitative study is something that has to be measurable, which is why you say quantity. Then we use the word quant, you get into an aspect of measurable terms, right? So the figures are measurable. So you have to use a structured tool. So a mechanism of that is what the film is trying to say is survey. Survey is one of the mechanisms or a tool to help you collect the data. Sometimes we get into tests, sometimes we get into experiments as part of quantitative study, but at your level, survey will hold good. Probably you would have come across questionnaire, which is inclusive of MCQs, open-ended question, close-ended question. So that forms the basis of your quantitative data collection through survey. And these results, what you collect, are statistically run across, and then you start presenting the results in the form of charts, graphs, and percentage, of course, yes, but we do not encourage mostly on percentage because it's at an undergraduate level or elementary level that holds good. For a master's level, inferential statistics is a must, and you need to focus on the quantity that you have collected here. Now, sometimes I can do my study on employee satisfaction survey. So as a company, I would distribute probably 200 questionnaires across my employees, which means I get 200 responses for this form of study. And for your data to become easy, there are questions on Likert scale as well, wherein you would have used a survey form where between 1 to 5, you're going to rate, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest score that you provide as well. So there are various variations as well. When I teach you on the methodology part, I'll be explaining, but pertaining to the quantitative study for now, please ensure that you need to focus on something that is measurable data, which is numerical in nature, and the numerical data should apply mathematical or statistical technique to understand any sort of patterns or behavior through our analysis. So that's why we get into the quantitative study. And coming back to the qualitative research, there will be certain research topics which will be eligible for a qualitative study, fundamentally from a doctoral work as well. I'm doing a complete mixed method, but then when you get into an aspect of qualitative, it gets as an element of thematic analysis. Qualitative research always gets in descriptive data. So the more you describe, that is, the interviewee tries to give you description on the question you pose. So it's something which is qualitative, which means it's non-numerical, which means we try to explore either the experience of the respondents, perceptions of the respondents, motivations of the respondents. So pertaining to the people attached subject is what you're going to deal in a qualitative research. So it's completely subjective. So from the cohort, I'm going to pick 10 people to analyze on online study. So each of y'all will have different views. And each of the views could be interpreted differently as well. And in a qualitative research, we try to get into open-ended tools. So which is why we say interview. We also get into focused groups for us to understand about that particular group of people as well. So an in-depth understanding of a behavior, or I would say a phenomena, if you need to get into your research, qualitative research is the best. So you try to focus on why, how, things like that. And for qualitative research, we can have minimal respondents at a master's level, meaning to say at least 10 to 12 people is mandatory. Nothing below that will give you a rational on the output as well, because you can't generalize with just 5 respondents and say that this is the outcome. So 10 to 12 interviews, if you pick qualitative, is essential. And for a quantitative study, flat 100, you need to pick by default 100 respondents. So if you're not able to get the 100 up there, so have a conversation with your supervisor and see how well you can best suit your research questions to fit into this. But 100 respondents definitely should be part of your quantitative study. And for a qualitative 10 to 12, at least to hold good outcome on your analysis to get into is mandatory. All right, I see a chat here. Nuclear safety culture survey are carried out periodically at nuclear power plants and seem to be qualitative and quantitative. Okay, that depends on what part of the safety culture you're looking into, and definitely both can be part of it, yeah. But see, fundamentally, there are certain topics, Peter, in which you can skew towards both. But the option is not left up to the respondents' pick. That is why we say your research questions and objectives will actually decide on which one to opt for. So the beauty in the research is your objectives and the questions is what we analyze as supervisors to see which can fit in appropriate. Okay, so based on that is where we navigate on either quantitative or qualitative. And Numan, qualitative research. All right, so Sadid Numan has given me on the reflection. So we should focus on one, I get it, thanks. Yes, at your level, master's level, you just got to focus on one, which is why I was trying to say mono method, mono is one, right? I posted on chat as well. So mono method is what is for you to fit into. You can't have both. For your information, let's say by oversight you do both and you submit your dissertation, you will be classified fail by default. I'm just putting it on record up front there. So mixed method is a strict no-no. And this is defined by the university. So just in case you do a mixed method, give your submission and then say, my supervisor never told me anything about it. So it's going to be a flat no for you with a fail. So please be very careful. It's mono method for your level of study. And the last classification here is applied or basic, which is pure research is what we're talking about here. So applied research, again, based on the purpose of the study is where we do applied research. Now, applied research is actually designed to solve a specific practical problem. You need application-oriented solutions to practical problem. For that, you pick an applied research, which is action-oriented, and results are often used for decision-making or policy implementation under applied research. So you can take any sort of real-world application which needs to have an immediate finding, which means your research should bring in an actionable outcome as a solution to that particular real-world application. So government, businesses, or even NGOs try to pick applied research. So your research can be based on, let's say now, a particular business entity has a lot of consumer complaints. So the more you get consumer complaints, the business is now submerged with the customer complaints. So they have a liberty to get into applied research. Now, what happens in an applied research? We as a business would try to investigate what is the volume of complaints about, right? So you can, again, use feedback forms or you can interview these consumers, and then recommendations and implementations can happen right away, which means I need to have an actionable outcome via my research in applied research classification. So sometimes we try to research on multiple ways to reduce plastic in the city. So applied research, so anything which comes as a solution should be an application to the particular problem's answer as well. So that's where you get into an applied research. So on the left here, we see basic, that is pure research. Now, this is conducted actually to expand the knowledge and underlying principle of theories. So without any practical application, if your research should be only on expanding knowledge and also getting into the crux of the theories that has been defined with the existing literature, especially which is academic in nature and which has driven curiosity to you as a researcher and a desire to understand what this stands for. We have Maslow's need hierarchy theory. And if I, as a researcher, can align that theory into my organization and further expand my knowledge in aligning this theory with my organization, then I can get into a pure research. And applied research is only applicable for an actionable outcome. So if I need to explore more on the existing knowledge, I can choose basic research. So that's the classification between the two. And for your information, out of all this, you still have liberty to choose the others, but the feasible one on the methodology, the feasible one on the methodology.
شنو تحب؟ ليه التليفون اللي عاش؟
All right, while could you mute your microphone? Else I'll have to disable it.
شنو؟ يسوي.
Okay. Be a little cautious. And if I get to hear another person again, I think there's a second student whose microphone is on. If I get to hear the other person, I'm just going to disable all your microphones. I have no other choice because it interrupts the flow. So please be a little cautious. I know even if you're logging in and not paying attention, it is still not okay, but then be a little cautious because whatever you're speaking in the background, it overlaps on the audio here. And there are a few genuine students who are listening to the lecture. So please don't get into that level. So be a little mindful, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so these two classification to narrow down as part of your study. So please ensure that you narrow down here. Definitely your supervisors are going to guide you based on the objectives and the research questions that you opt for as well. So I'm moving on to an activity here. In fact, I want this to be run across like a role play for you to get into the research aspect here. So the question is simple. For those of you all who'd like to view it in your desktop, you can just click on that image there, which is on the chat. So the activity is simple. Now, you've been asked to join a group to discuss a new type of breakfast cereal that is being developed. So technically, it's new type of breakfast cereal, something new, okay? So I'm going to highlight this word. And the manufacturers need to find out your perception of the product. Okay, so ideally, the perception of the product is what we are looking into. All right, so understand the question, then you'll be able to solve it. So a new type of breakfast cereal is developed, and then the manufacturers, let's say XYZ company, it needs to know what is your perception towards that particular breakfast cereal. Okay. Now you think about it. You've seen so many classifications of research, and what type of research do you think will fit into this category? What type of research? We're looking at type classification. What do you think will fit in here? And furthermore, what kind of questions are likely to be asked while doing this type of research? So what kind of question is, when you brainstorm and get into research questions, what sort of questions are you going to look into? Okay, so I already have 3 to 4 charts there. Think about it. Think about it. I'm just going to give you some more time. I'm happy if people are responding quickly. Just think about it. Okay, so one starts with qualitative and it goes there with a chain of qualitative study. You can just not limit it to one, but there are certain classifications which, I mean, is not covered in your curriculum. So if you think anything outside the box as well, you're free to put forth that. You can think beyond what was taught as well. See, here I'm not giving you just one option. I mean, this is not going to be part of your research to have a mono method. You can have multiple perspectives. So think, analyze, and then give me an answer. What sort of research? I think mostly I see the chats there. Before I read the chats, the next question as well you can answer. What sort of questions, typical questions, would you pose? I'm not getting into research questions for now. Typical questions like, what do you want to understand when you're talking about preferences of customers? What do you want to understand? Now, for this, I need 3 groups in the class. So, no, don't post it on the chat. I need a role play. Okay, I need a role play here. So I'm gonna need 3 set of people. I mean, 3 set of, I'll just put it as groups. Okay, so each group inclusive of 2 members. Each group is inclusive of 2 members. You can pick and choose whoever it is. I'm just going to minimize the screen for me to have the team members. All right, so 3 groups. And for your information, this is about the cereal breakfast. So what sort of questions you need to ask is, again, should help the manufacturers. See, a lot of us have gotten to an element of healthy diet now, and I don't see any traditional breakfasts people, at least most of them, having. So it's either oats or cereals or oat bix, which you get into porridge. So this is where we have landed up to. So I need 3 groups inclusive of 2 set of people per group. If you do not volunteer, just raise your hands. I will pick and choose a combination. So ideally, we need 6 people. Just click on the raise hand feature. You don't have to choose who your partner is. I'll give the combos. Just raise your hand. Give it a try. I'm definitely going to help you on the areas which you can focus on the questions. So what I would train you now is how to build question, research question, how to build it. Peter, just use the raise hand option, just in case I saw your thumbs up there. There's a raise hand option on the toolbar, just in case if people are, okay, Osama, Malik, there are only 2. I need 4 more. Peter, good. There are 3. I need 3 more. Quick. It's going to be interesting. Come on. And they're fundamentally your old classmates there. Okay, great. All right. So I have 5. One more. I can see on my screen is Sama, Peter, Jonas, the theme, Ram, and okay, fine, Mariana. Perfect. So I'm gonna pick and choose the combo here. I'll go with the sequence. Sama is the first person who's raised a hand. So Sama and Peter, team 1. Jonas and okay, the theme is out there. Team 2 and Ram. And I have Mariana. Perfect. So we have 3 groups here. All right. Now, these are your team members. I think my screen is visible, right? So these are the team members. And I want you to, so I was looking for 6 members. So I've got 6 members just in case if someone is raising after this. Probably I'll use you for the next activity. Okay, we'll reserve your name for the next activity. So step 1. Now, this is going to be a role play, which means I want you to mute your microphones when I individually call the teams, the groups. Okay? So first things first, the team should be ready in answering the question. Let's say Osama and Peter are the first team members. First, you should be ready in letting me know what is the classification of research that you feel is ideal for this particular study. And second thing, you can talk about the set of questions that you want to pose. Now, this is where role play comes. One person will be a manufacturer, and the other person is going to be a customer, consumer. All right. So in the second question, you split up. In the first question, unanimously, you can let me know what is the classification of research. Second question, one person becomes a manufacturer and the other person becomes the customer, consumer. All right. And you begin to ask questions on how you would like to view the perception of this product with that consumer. And nevertheless, the more you ask question, the other party should answer as well. So you should build your question in such a way that it should be answerable. It cannot come from thin air. It should be relevant to the type of cereal that we are looking for the breakfast as well. Okay. So target audience is anyone and everyone who wish to have a healthy breakfast, which is under the classification of cereal. So it could be old, senior citizens, it could be, teenagers, and it could be somewhere between 35 to 45 range as well. So it's open audience. It's going to be a open-ended audiences here. Okay. So I'm just going to pick the first team, Sama, Peter. All right. Let me start with group 2, Jonas and Tafim, because I've heard them speak, and probably that will give Osama, Peter, Ram, and Mariana the confidence as well. All right, Jonas, you will be manufacturer, and Peter would be the consumer. Okay, now Jonas, you want the theme. Jonas, you want the theme to answer the questions based on what you feel could be in line with the perception of that particular product. All right, so can I have only 2 of you all to unmute your microphone? We are in this team, Jonas and Tafim.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, other
Yes.
party? Perfect. Yes, so Jonas, you are the manufacturer and Tafim is a consumer. So you want to know Tafim's preference and perception towards the new classification of the breakfast. Okay. So
Yeah.
first of all, unanimously, tell me what could be the best classification of research which can be applied in this given scenario?
I think it will be qualitative.
Okay. Why? Is there a rational?
Sorry.
Is there a rational which you can back it up by?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have any rational, you can tell that as well. No, is there any logic behind it
Uh,
for
can I
telling
answer this?
qualitative?
Can I answer this question?
Please go ahead. Yes.
Because we are focusing on a specific segment here, which is the health conscious segment.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to know their preferences very specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The targeted segment basically is defining the need for the qualitative research option here.
All right. Okay. So qualitative is where you land up to. All right. I'm just getting into the next slide because I don't have ample space. All right. So this is their team, Jonas team that opted for qualitative. All right. So they have given a rational as well. So every team needs to give a rational. Okay. Set of questions. What would you pose, considering Jonas here as a manufacturer? Since you're introducing a new cereal breakfast, so what sort of questions would you like to ask the team to grow the product base? Jonas, what sort of question would you ask? Yeah.
Definitely the target audience, we need to ask their preference first, like what kind of things they want to be in the process, and accordingly, being a manufacturer, we have to make it.
Okay, so can we get now in depth on the questions? So if I give you a category on perception, now I'm getting into the skin of questions, okay? Perception and preference. Now, these are the categories you need to look into, okay? So what sort of questions would you pose? What sort of questions? Based on perception and preference. I'll keep it open for both. You can just give it your shot.
Okay, if with Yunus' permission, because he's the manufacturer, but I have a few questions I can suggest.
Okay.
So first question is, how often do you consume cereals in the breakfast?
Okay,
so
good.
The frequency, yes.
How often? Okay, that's good.
Yes, how often do you consume cereals in the breakfast? Question 2 is, what flavor is your first preference?
Good, interesting. See, this is where I want to get. Even for your research, this is how you start structuring, and then we narrow down to what is applicable to our study. Good. Second one.
Second is, what flavor is your first preference?
Okay, your flavors. Okay. Okay.
Okay, and the third question is, what flavor is your second preference? Because as a
Okay, so
manufacturer, I want to,
consecutively, you just need to know 1 and 2. Okay, that's good.
to protect my market share.
All right, great. Yeah.
Question 4 for me is, what nutritionary benefits do you expect in cereals?
Nutritional benefit. Oh, that's good.
Yes.
We're going good. Tafim. Nice. And you're
And
struggling with the
5,
title. Okay, that's nice.
I am, by the way.
Okay.
I will need
Give it
help
another
with
try.
that.
One last question.
Yes, the question, last question is, what price range do you expect to pay for your preferred cereal pack? So the price.
Price. All right, we're getting into the price there. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought of myself when I'm buying a cereal, I have a certain price. I don't want to go higher than that price.
No, makes sense.
So
Absolutely
yeah.
makes sense. I really appreciate, from where you started to how you're lending into it. Um, that's pretty interesting. I'm just gonna pull this as one particular slide of your team, right? And Ram and Marina, I'm just gonna give them another. Okay, so that we're clear with the text here. All right. Great.
Just to add some more questions, just
Go
to
ahead,
yeah.
please. I'll be more than happy. This is what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to also know, being a manufacturer, that whether they prefer to have pre-cooked or they want to basically prepared and eat, what sort of their preference.
Mhm.
On top of that, probably type of the raw material they prefer to be in the
Mm,
meal.
mm, mm. But
Because yeah.
here we're trying to look the perception and preference of consumer. But as a manufacturer, you would try to get the perception and preference of the consumer. Let's say the theme's perception towards the product, the theme's preference towards the product, you need to understand. So pose your questions in such a way that will help you to actually get into reverse engineering. So you get the inputs here, and accordingly, you do a reverse engineering in your manufacturing. So imagine you already produced a cereal and you have given these people to eat, ideally, to taste. So what perception and preferences have they got after they have consumed what you produce? So what would you like to know from people who've consumed on what you have manufactured as a new product?
First and most, like, to know the taste, whether they liked it or not. This is the first
This
thing.
is very important. I was looking
Yeah.
for this. Like or dislike of that particular product is really important. Okay, that's good. Now you're getting into that. Yes. And one more.
The second, probably, whether they need to basically add something to improve and to meet their expectations. But what sort
Okay.
of improvement they are basically expecting from a manufacturer, or improvement, let's say, in that other word.
Okay. So scope of improvement on the probably ingredients per se.
That's
Good.
right.
See, 5 and 6. Nice. Now you're answering. Awesome. Thanks, team. This is from Jonas and the theme, but I had given them the choice there on perception and preference. See, generally, this is a learning exposure for you as well as a researcher. When I say ask questions, now apart from perception and preference, let's jump into the chat there. I've seen a couple of chats here, which, without any narrowed or funnel effect. See, I never told people a chat on perception and preference. The first question was, what sort of questions you pose, which was very broad. When I give a broad perspective, look at the responses we are getting. Peter says, would they eat now? Malik, because it should involve opinions, experience, feeling. Nikki, exploratory. Okay, probably that's classification. And nutritional benefits from Marvelous. Nikki again, come, what do you like about the new cereal? Good. See, these are the questions when you get into, I'm looking mostly from the perception here. And what do you not like about cereal? Yes, we covered that as one of the questions. Do you think it's too sweet? Let's say if it is coated with sugar or caramelized, probably that question answers there. So Michael is a cereal produced ethically and is accordance with, okay. So that could also be one of the questions. Good one there. And Richard, Product appearance and packaging. Yes, very important. Appearance of the product. How does a product appear? And does the new packaging, does it literally look good? You get there. Good. So Miriam also says, how much calories do you want to intake in serving? Yeah, your preferences there is important because it's healthy. When we say it's healthy, I would also be conscious of my calorie intake. So that's also a good question. So narrowing down is important. You can just get your questions on a piece of paper, but when you say on a particular category, that's when people understand better. If not, they'll just give you anything and everything that they know about the product without even understanding the essence of what your purpose of your research is. So as a researcher, you need to streamline the set of questions that I need to think. So bring in that funnel effect. Funnel, how it works, right? You're just pouring a liquid or, excuse me, transferring it from one bottle to another. Having a funnel will refine it a lot more, right? So bring in that funnel effect. Now I'm getting back there on the quantitative and qualitative. In fact, there are 3 types of research that we can do, Sabid, using this particular study. I'll get there. Okay, just I want to know the opinion now. Osama and Peter, can we have your microphones on?
Hi.
Hello, good evening. Okay, so the category I'm going to give you is on taste and sensory experiences. What sort of questions can we pose the audience?
You could. Is it sweet?
Okay, that's
Um,
good. First of all, which classification of study are you people bringing up to? Is it quantitative, qualitative?
when you talk about taste, it's qualitative, but I'd thought about quantitative as well for like maybe hotels serving the product as a different way of looking at the questions. But yeah, the one you asked is definitely qualitative.
Okay, but pertaining to taste and sensory.
Correct.
All right. Quantitative, what could land up there, Peter?
Well, if the customer was not the person who was eating the cereal, but was the person who was serving it in a hotel, for example,
Okay,
you,
okay.
you'd want to know how much was used, what's the price point, the wastage you generally see, how much space it takes up.
All right.
What accompanies the cereal? Is it milk? Is it yogurt? Something like that.
Okay, fair enough. So I am going to record it on both qualitative and quantitative because that was appealing as well. Okay. And now coming back to taste and sensory, where do we end up to? What sort of questions do you pose the consumers of this category?
Well, is it sweet?
Okay.
Or is it more savory? Or is it crunchy, soft and chewy? These kind of things. So sweetness, texture.
Okay, you're talking about sweetness, texture, crunchy, whether it's crunchy or not, and chewy. Okay, fine. So,
the size of the individual pieces. Is it?
oh, okay, yeah,
So is it
because
good for
we're
young
talking about
children? That
taste.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Even the shapes sometimes, if you target audience,
Yeah,
it's
good
going to
point.
be, yeah, yeah. So the shapes as well. Okay, so anything apart from that, Osama, even you can answer.
Does it make a noise when you pour the milk in? I remember the Cocoa Pops and Rice Krispies that the advertising used to be snap,
Yeah,
crackle and pop. So
correct.
is there a noise comes off it?
Okay, yeah. So the crunchiness, if it's, thing and pop. Okay. Does
So if
it
it makes a
pop?
noise when you eat it, or
Yeah, yeah.
do something with it.
Okay.
It's more like how does it feel in your mouth while you're eating it?
Uh-huh. Okay. That's good.
Is it smooth, dry? Do you
The
prefer
texture.
to have some spices on it?
Oh, yeah. You can try it probably because it's a new product development. So that could also be, probably texture, spices. You'd like to explore on that option. If given a chance, it is, it includes spices as well. All right. Anything apart from that?
Is it hot or
Yeah.
cold?
Mm-hmm.
Frozen
Okay.
even? No, hot or cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, you can serve it hot or cold. It depends, on the preference of the consumers again. Anything apart from that?
Things you can add to it. Things you add it to, or things you add to it.
Oh, yeah.
Accompaniments.
Okay. Well, that's good. So technically fruits, you get on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how about the taste in itself? Did you have a pleasant or unpleasant experience when it comes to taste? You can ask those sort of questions as well. Sometimes, you give them option of sweet, crunchy, it's correct, but then you can also ask them, or see if you notice, after they consume it, was it pleasant or unpleasant? For some, if it's a spicy, or cereal which includes spices, they taste, they consume it, and probably they'll not be in a position to even accept it because so far the concept of cereals have been something sugar coated or it is sweetness. So, what sort of flavor you're looking into? And one thing is, when you talk about taste, there can also be a question where people can compare that and contrast with their fellow competitors. Sometimes cereals, we don't limit it to just one brand. Probably we may need to explore or we look into different categories of the products as well. So comparing and contrasting the existing product with that of their competitors is important. So ask those questions as well. The reason is you look into manufacturers into the picture, right? So when you have manufacturers, you need to explore those sort of questions as well. So is my product unique in comparison to my competitors? Do you feel that? You can ask. Because in your targeted, or focus group, you'll find people who would have consumed multiple brands of cereals as well, apart from your own brand, right? So comparing and contrasting that way as well holds good. And one last thing. One last thing.
How? What would you say about the flavor? Is it memorable or unique to you?
The flavor.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I think even the second team had spoken something, but yeah, what flavor do you prefer? Okay, so flavor. Okay, fair enough. Thank you, gentlemen, both of you. I think good contribution out there. And I have a couple of things in chat here. Michael, can it be eaten dry or milk is needed? Yes, add-ons, which I think probably Peter was trying to put forth that. Like snacks, cereal during day, Fruit Loops. Yes, yes, definitely. And I have a habit of adding fruits to my cereals as well. So that could also be there. Good. The combination there. Yes. And the last team, Mariana and Ron, could you unmute your microphone? Are you there?
Yes, hello.
Yes, Mariana. Good evening.
Good
How
evening.
about Ram? Is Ram around? I don't see. Okay, so nevertheless, would anyone like to join Mariana? I don't find the other participant there.
Mm,
Okay, Mariana, you can go ahead. Come, let's do this.
okay.
What sort of classification of research would you opt for?
Classification research.
Yeah.
Branding, product appearance. It's for the how it looks like.
Okay.
If we do the classification after, we can do a classification for the texture and the taste or flavor of product concept. It makes you healthier, thinner. I don't know, makes you lose weight or however. Buying preference. If you like this, for how it was mentioned before, if it's in line with your price that you would like to spend buying then this product.
Okay. And how about the scope of audience? Would you just vouch for yourself, or would you recommend it for your extended family? How about those questions?
About audience, since it's the breakfast, I think it's for everyone. So unless it's something for children that which is recommended of audience.
So I'm just going to include, would you serve to your children, or let's say family, this particular cereal? You know, that could also
Yes.
be a question posed. See, sometimes the entire family would, indulge in the same cereal, the brand or the type of cereal, rather than buying different, unless children are very demanding to have a flavorful or exciting shape-filled cereals. So would you serve to your children or family? And Syed has also included a question: would you boil this cereal? Why or why not? I'm going to add that as well. And also, very important, when you're talking about healthy, diet conscious, people of that sort, you can ask lifestyle fit questions as well. You can ask if the cereal tries to fit in their usual breakfast habit as well. Sometimes people, they prefer, but probably twice a week, thrice a week, depends. So you can pose, does this particular cereal, fit into the usual breakfast habit? So you're asking suggestions, right? So eventually, could they opt for the usual breakfast? So that could also be the question posed here. Anything from the audience apart from Mariana's point here? Anything else? I would also ask this question. First impression, the moment, they consume, what's the first impression they had on the cereal? So that also helps me to understand what is their preference. Probably sometimes when you ask people, they'll speak a lot. So yeah, it tasted this way, or it could have been better. So when you ask the first impression on the cereal itself, you'll get too many questions without even asking them. Innately, they'll give you the responses. So that can also be one of the question and the theme. Yes.
I got one more point. Don't know if it's relevant. So we
Okay.
could
Proceed.
ask the targeted consumers that do they check for packaging and sourcing when they're choosing their purchase? So, for example, is it ethically sourced and is the
Yeah,
packaging from
I think we
sustainable
had someone.
materials?
Yeah, I think I had someone in the chat talking about that. Michael.
Yeah.
Yes, ethical sourcing and packaging. Okay, packaging I'm avoiding because in your slide itself we have spoken about packaging. So ethical sourcing, that's important. So nice, interesting. Now, coming back
How
to first
is
of all, yeah, Mariana. Anything
how is
else?
the taste compared to the others that they tried? Or can we ask the question what kind of person you think it will taste this will like uh, this breakfast?
Okay, yeah. I think I had included a question here. Probably the first slide is Summer slide. In comparison to the competitors,
Mhm.
how does it fit into? Yeah. So that is also important, You can compare and contrast with the competitors as well. So good. Good one. Thanks, Mariana. Thank you. She took it up all alone. And good one there. So first of all, yes, thanks for the participants. I think good show there. Osama, Peter, Jonas, the Theme, and Mariana. Thank you in the first place. Now, where are we landing up to in line with the classifications of research? Let me conclude this activity first and try and understand your perception on the consumption of the product, the taste, the preference, sensory aspects. It's all vital, right? But as a researcher, please try and understand you can't pose these many questions in your research questions aspect, but rather when you're preparing a survey or you're trying to conduct an interview with your respondents, you can come up with these questions structured. So, which is why we say when you at least conduct an interview, there can be a structured or semi structured set of questions to which these will add value. But in a proposal, when you're trying to put forth the research question, it has to narrow down on certain variables only. So, which is why I was trying to pick on taste and sensory as a classification, perception and preference as a classification. And you can also include a lifestyle fit based questions. So anything and everything cannot be a part of your research question. Your research question needs to narrow down as much as you can. So probably your study on this can only be on taste and sensory, and you can land up on these many questions. And your research question should navigate on these taste and sensory or perception and preferences only, right? So the more wider your scope is, then as a manufacturer, you'll feel again that the invented product is of no good use. So ideally, you need to know how to approach the targeted audience. And as a successful manufacturer, you need to know what are the things that is supposed to be tweaked. Now, 100 people will give you 100 opinion. Can you get into reverse engineering and making 100 changes? No, you've invested a lot in your business. So a research should always narrow down, get into a structure, and then you can move ahead with other activities there. Now, to the question who was asking here, I think I had a question from Sadat. Why can't it be both qualitative and quantitative, right? Now, first of all, the type of research, it can happen in very different ways, in different aspects as well. Of course, quantitative and qualitative is preferential, and you can opt that. And barring that, you know, I would suggest in the first place qualitative in such cases than quantitative. When you're literally allowing people to taste a particular product, for them, the thought process will start giving a lot of responses, which as a manufacturer will be much more easier for you to sit and jot down or get the inputs. So it's not like literally the manufacturer is going to sit there physically and collect the information. You'll definitely have assistants doing the work there. So my first choice of preference is qualitative because as a manufacturer, let's say I would be interested in subjective opinions. See, each of y'all, whatever you told to me, are subjective opinions or experiences. When Peter was trying to describe as well, uh, he said it's crunchy, the shape, what pops, those are the things which may be based on his experience or through the advertisements he'd have taken a look, or it's a subjective opinion. That is what manufacturer would be more interested to know, and that will give an eye opener for the manufacturer as well to make the product better. We're not looking here at numerical data. We are not looking at any sort of discussions which just adds on an analysis. We're looking at a lot of inputs which can help us through the opinions to improvise the product. That's where the success of the product lies as well. Generally you get into a departmental store, hypermarket, supermarket, and the retail outlet you get into, there'll be certain samples that they set up. Why do they set up samples? They want the consumers to consume those products and give your feedback, your opinion for scope of improvement. And the samples would just be a piecemeal of output that they would have bought in the form of commodity there. Right? So when you get into qualitative, it's open-ended, it gets into discussion, and I have a focused group whom I know are going to give the subjective opinions or through their experience are going to help my business to improvise further on the product. Barring qualitative, the other form is exploratory research, which I explained to you. I know, like some of y'all may, would have stuck to quantitative and qualitative, but exploratory research will also have a purpose here if conducted because you're trying to explore the ideas, gather the insight, you're understanding the perception of the individuals, and also the attitude of these consumers will give you a sense of motivation. Some of them may consume and say, brilliant, it's exceptional, and when they try to talk about these things, it'll motivate you. So exploratory research. It's a new product, which is why, if you notice, I highlighted new type in this particular statement. It's a new product. In this case, you need to know more about the perception, attitude, motivation, and you'll explore the ideas. Sometimes people will give you suggestions for you to improve. That's how you explore. And you also, as a company, still you're in early stage of development. It's a new product. It's an early stage of development, and you would like to learn how potential consumers will feel about the product, which actually will future point of time, it will add value and the improvement. And always get focused group for this sort of study, which is why I said the target could be people who need to have a healthy lifestyle. And the third classification, which I would vouch for, because quantitative is way too far, for you to get there, mostly if it is just a questionnaire, you won't get opinions. Here I need opinions. Here I need criticisms also. In quantitative, unless your question poses on criticism, no one will give you a chance because the scope is very limited. So quantitative, I wouldn't vouch for it for a new product to explore. Another one is market research, which is not part of your curriculum, but market research as well we do. So that will actually fit in the application on applied market research, because it helps us to conduct within the scope of business objective in order to improve the serial and also ensure how the improvement in the serial can get into the success in the market as well. Interconnected aspect I can bring through the market research and use applied market research as a principle as well. So if market research is done, my scope of improvement of the product is also done. And apart from that, I can ensure that this scope of improvement will give me an output to succeed in the market, which is why one of the statement I bought is compare and contrast with the competitors. So based on all your inputs, that is the focus groups, I know where I stand in the market, because you people eventually are going to give me inputs based on the other products which you've consumed through different rounds as well. Excuse me. So that is how you get into comparison and contrast on the competitor's perspective. So market research holds good. So my first classification, qualitative research. Second, probably I'll vouch for exploratory research. And third, market research. Quantitative, just because the scope is very limited for me to get the observational ideas and also criticisms as a factor, I wouldn't opt for it for this particular research. So hope that answered. And Miriam, as a manufacturer, we can also ask what stores you want to see. Yeah, what sort of stores you want this to be stacked. And that again depends on the market research, the geographical location, all those, Miriam. All right, so we'll take a break for 15 minutes. And I'm going to quickly run through on the other aspects, and I'll explain what in the proposal we'll have to take forward. So post 15 minutes, I'll catch it. See you all. All right. Hope you're all glued to the laptop. I'm continuing the session. So the next concept that I'd like to iterate is pertaining to the business research. Now, this is where your role begins. And for an MBA student, fundamentally, the topic should align in line with the business management. So business research, let's try and understand that. And that will help you to focus on what exactly you need to get into as a part of a research as well. Now, excuse me, talking about business research, now again, a research is something which needs to be systematic, object oriented, and it has to be structured as well, right? So when you get into these aspects, especially the aspect of research to help predominantly on business decision making and reducing any sort of uncertainty in the managerial decision is really important. So, for which your research in the business should help in being reliable and also must have an evidence-based information. And a business research which you're going to conduct in future, this research shouldn't be intuitive or it cannot be haphazard. It can never be a guesswork. And probably you can't come up with your gut feeling or randomly gather the information and say, okay, this is how I analyze. It's not going to happen in a business research. You need to fundamentally choose a problem statement in the business arena, and literally that should get into an element of research rather than just search, right? So your research should investigate, revisit, or look into a deeper understanding of the issue that you have identified, which you would like to probe at certain point of time to gather, validate the information as well. So business research must be objective in nature. So this research should be free from any personal opinions or preconceived notions or even internal politics for that matter. You must aim to present factual and unbiased data in a business research. So try to detach yourself and try to be impersonal rather than getting biased on your conclusions when you're getting into the research. And ultimately, you have to facilitate the managerial decision processes as well, based on informed and rational decision making. It could be in any field, marketing, operations, finance. The other day, someone was asking about aviation, banking, any field, but you have to get into the crux of the business operations. Now, we have 10 steps in a research breakdown. For some of y'all who are still struggling, even to get into the topic for your research. So, where and how do you land? There. So, at least to begin with, start with this 10 steps. The first one is you need to start the research with the keywords. Keywords play a very vital role. The purpose of identifying the keywords or key concepts per se in your research topic will help you to guide the database and journals to a larger extent. When I teach you the literature review, which is going to be the next concept for your LO2, I will literally walk you through on the database, as simple as your Google Scholars, for you to understand how using a keyword and a Boolean operation in a search engine operation, you'll be able to narrow down the topics further. At least the articles relevant to your keywords, we will be able to narrow down. So first and foremost, keyword is really important. Generally, if you see journal articles, beneath the abstract, you will find keywords. Technically, these keywords revolve around the entire article of that publication as well. So understanding the keywords is really important. So this will give you an idea to develop key concepts of your research as well. So fundamentally, the database journals will help you in the form of search engines to get the keywords on the topic as well. So if you're, let's say, trying to research on sustainable practices in the garment industry, so this may be on any location. When it comes to garment industry, we have people from Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, who are of, affordable labor, who help in the garment industry as well. So you may want to, research on the practices, sustainable practices in these garment industries, specifically to a particular location. So when I talk about that aspect, my keywords should be sustainable fashion. My keywords can be apparel industry in Bangladesh. My keyword could be ethical sourcing. My keywords could be environmental impact. My keywords could be fast fashion. My keywords can be supply chain transparencies, right? Sometimes you can use synonyms or related terms to get into the keywords as well. So that's important. So keywords is your first start. And in LO2, I'll teach you on how using the Booleans and the search engines, you can refine even the keywords in the articles, which will be useful for your literature review as well. Because now the internet and the World Wide Web has a lot of databases. Sometimes if it's too much of information also, it's difficult for an individual to narrow down. So I'll help you narrow down. So keywords is your first step. And secondly, you would want to confirm your research questions. That is important. If you do not know your research questions, probably you would struggle. So your purpose through the research question should be very clear, focused, and these research questions should define what you're exploring and why these questions matters the most. Again, when I'm looking at the sustainable stuff, I can frame two research questions. One is, what are the current sustainable practices in the garment industry that I'm looking into? And second, why are sustainable practices not widely adopted despite there is a global awareness on sustainability? So such should be a research question. What? Why? So a good question will always guide your research direction and scope as well. So you should be very carefully navigating your research questions. So for your dissertation, two research questions are mandatory, and three, you can still have them, but two is something we are looking into from the university perspective. And the next aspect is I will confirm my research objective. So once your research questions are structured, your objectives becomes easy. So your research objectives are purpose oriented. The objectives should translate your questions into actionable outcomes as well. So your questions, objectives should correlate. Always keep that in mind. You can't deviate your questions and objectives. So it should correlate very well. So you have to opt verbs in objectives like to analyze, to explore, to suggest. So these could be the possible verbs that you can use: investigate, determine, evaluate, explore, assess. So these we use as the verbs for the research objectives as well. And after that, what we do is we need to justify the research questions with literature review. This is really important. Most of them feel, okay, I get a generative AI, do the content creation for me for the literature. It's incorrect. You cannot have a literature review undertaken without citation. Forward referencing style is mandatory. So please ensure that you justify a research question with the literature review. So review previous studies to show that exactly there is a gap, which your research will fill that gap and support why your research questions are relevant as well. So use peer-reviewed journals, books, credible reports. Reports could be from UN reports, World Bank report. Now we have Sustainable Development Paris agreements to look into if that is your topic, and then take it forward. Always get your literature review in place and never have chunk of all the contents from generative AI to say that my literature review is done. You need to have citations backed with references for literature review in the Harvard referencing style. And then identifying research philosophy. This is where Marvels was trying to talk about as well, the methodology. Choosing a methodology and choosing a philosophy is important. So you'll be learning this in LO2. You would be reflecting on Sanders' research onion. So this particular thing is going to help you to peel the layers of the onion to let you know which methodology to use when. So the purpose of this research philosophy is for you to reflect your worldwide view on the study, how you think the knowledge should be acquired, right? So the knowledge will be in line with positivism, interpretivism. So this will inform you and give an interconnectedness on the methodology, how you gather or analyze the data. And from there, we'll take it forward. And in fact, this is where the philosophy and methodology stage, it will give you a lot more clarity on which aspect or type of research you will be involved into as well. And ethical consideration is much more important. In fact, your module kit will have the ethical clearance form, which you'll definitely have to fill it during the third chapter of your dissertation. Get the signature from your supervisor and then start with the data collection. And always ensure that your research protects the participants and respects the ethical standards as well, especially when you're interviewing, or sometimes people are too honest, too transparent, and there may be sensitive information or cultural contexts which you'll be dealing with. So in such cases, get the ethical consideration. Few people may say on an anonymity basis, I'm okay to answer, right? So it's always good to have a ethical consideration. And then collect your data, which is important. The purpose here is to gather the information based on your chosen methodology, and definitely it is a primary data collection. So please ensure that you do a primary data collection, and that is mandatory. It could be survey, interviews you can get into, but secondary data can also back up your primary data. You can use it as just an ancillary, like a company reports or academic articles, industry statistics. It can be used as an ancillary, but primary study is what we look into. And then you analyze and present your findings as well. Your findings needs to be presented, which means the sense of your data collection should find patterns and they should relate to your research questions, which you did it in step 2. And then you try to find through the literature what the gap is to see if your findings tries to fulfill that gap. And then you conclude your research and provide recommendations as well. To a larger extent, this will be the closure of your dissertation. So in your dissertation, you technically have 5 chapters. When you move to the dissertation stage, one is the introduction. The second one is literature review. The third one is your research methodology. Fourth one is data analysis. And then your fifth one is conclusion and recommendation. So in data analysis is where your findings are reflected. That is where you use statistical tools to run through its quantitative data and do a thematic analysis and get the in vivo software to do the theme-based approach as well. And then you conclude and provide recommendation. And very important, which I'd like to re-reflect, is have I contributed to existing knowledge? So the purpose of, again, your research is to assess how your research adds value academically and practically. A study must be, or maybe you would say that it's the first thing to document. So, but whatever you document, whatever you're trying to do, adding on to a bit of newness to the existing knowledge is important. So it shouldn't be like, I begin with XYZ and then I don't know where I'm going with my research. Your XYZ should be a pattern of contribution to what the affirmations of existing research is. So reflection on your research should highly contribute towards strengthening the existing knowledge as well. So unless otherwise it's a new discovery that you get into, but otherwise it should definitely contribute towards the existing knowledge. End of the day, it's a chain that continues with the existing knowledge. And a typical research process, first of all, you need to know what sort of questions that your research will run across. Framing research questions is important. In fact, the sheet that I'll be sharing to you will talk about the research questions and hypothesis. The other day as well, I was trying to tell, but this is not mandatory for you. But if you have that, well and good, you can prove and disprove the assumptions as well, and have a research plan. This research plan is where your aspect of Gantt chart is reflected into. So in a Gantt chart, we would request you to come up with a research plan, like how you're going to bifurcate these 5 chapters across 5 to 6 months for your study, and what sort of data you collect is important. And then you'll have to interpret the results. Whatever data you collect should be measurable. And the interpretation is where the findings come into the picture. And what you conclude will be a new gap for the next researcher. That's what happens in a research as well. You know, every time you do a new study and you identify the gap with the existing literatures. So likewise, now your research conclusion will be an eye-opener to someone else as a researcher as well. It's a chain reaction that we continue in research. Furthermore, now choosing a research topic. Now, how do we get into choosing a research topic? So typically, like a couple of y'all, when I began the session, you had this in mind. Choosing itself is probably a tough nut here to crack. No, it's not. So choosing a research topic is actually the foundational step, I would say, in any of the research, be it a project or a dissertation or a thesis, whichever classification you call, a topic is essential, which means the topic will set direction, scope, purpose of your study. Now, first of all, you need to identify your interest and passion, which is really important when you try to choose your research topic. So the first thing, I need to identify my interest and also what I'm passionate about. So as a researcher, you have to know where your interest lies, because 5, 6 months, it's your journey as a researcher. And trust me, at some point of time, you'll feel it's overwhelming. So some element should trigger you to say, hey, we got this. So for which your interest and passion should be part of the research to be undertaken, which means, again, the research can be challenging, could be long. So when you choose a topic genuinely of your interest, you'll keep motivated. So when you know you're passionate about environmental issues, when you know you're passionate about supply chain management, operations, that will keep you motivated. Sometimes, you can choose a topic with your own professional expertise as well from the organization perspective, because you need not think anything outside the box. Your respondents are within the organization, and you know very well the gap within the organization as well. What is lying and underlying there? So identifying your interest and passion is important when you begin your research. And the second aspect is you have to review existing literature. This is also one of the easiest thing where you will at least get to some extent an eye-opening idea through the existing literature. The literature will give you idea. So explore books, academic journals, reports to see where research can fit in, because this will help you understand the state of knowledge to identify any gaps, which will also help you understand the unexplored areas as well. So consider the scope and feasibility of the study. Sometimes, maybe it interests you, but you're not within the scope of studying it, which means, looking at the resources, the theme, access to data, and what expertise you're trying to get in may not be within your reachable limit. So think about that. What's the scope? Do you know that the respondents are made available to you within your networks? Then it's well and good. You're going in a good direction. I need to study about astronauts. Okay, do I know astronauts, or can I have networks who can direct me towards astronauts? Think on those aspects, right? So, which is where feasibility and scope is important. Because sometimes when you say interest and passion, anything can interest you. But do I get primary data to be collected through these passionate topics? Again, define your research problem. That is also important, because without problem, there's no solution. And who's going to get the solution? You, through your research, are going to get the solution. So you need to understand what is the gap in the first place. Secondly, what is a problem? And thirdly, your analysis should be a solution to that problem. So a good research topic should be clear, focused, along with the problem and question. What exactly I need to find out, and why is it important? If you answer these two questions, you're definitely going in a good direction. And also check relevance, or I can say significance of the topic. That is really important. So how are you contributing to the existing literature, or how are you providing solution to the existing literature? Is it relevant? Is there any topic of importance? Look into that as well. Please mute your microphones. So look into that as well. That is really important. Relevance and significance. And also you can consider career goals here. Sometimes bring in your career goals, your business problems as well, which can help you to get into the relevance here. And brainstorm as much as possible. See, the topic will not just drop from the sky. You need to brainstorm what is the possible topic. That's really important. So you can literally try to brainstorm, probably when you're sipping a cup of coffee, talking to your peers. Just strike a conversation with them and see if they could suggest something for you. So probably that will trigger your interest. That will trigger you to feel what you're passionate about as well. So basic things, you're not to be a researcher here, but basic things for you to understand where and how you can get into the detailed aspect of choosing a research topic. So first of all, your interest, your passion, look into the literatures. That'll give you a different dimension as well. And from there, you can take it forward as well. And one more thing I want you to look into is the problem statement. Sometimes, how can I even choose a topic? If that's your question, I would suggest you to get into the aspect of the problem. See, every research will definitely identify a problem because your research will be a solution to that particular problem. So you need to know where exactly the problem comes in part of your research as well. So first of all, from the business context, if you notice, identifying a problem is simple, but you should know if the problem can get a direction on the solution as well, which means very first stage or a crucial step in your research process is to clearly define this problem. Problem is what? A challenge. We are not talking about something which we cannot narrow down into. It is definitely going to be a specific business challenge or an issue that needs to be addressed or solved through the research. So the problem always needs to be specific. With one keyword, there may be so many problems, challenges in business. So always choose specific or focused problem. It should not be too broad or vague. It must relate directly to a business context, like your operations, marketing, finance, human resource, customer satisfaction, whatever, you name it. The specifications of problem, uniqueness of the problem in a business situation will help you to arise from any sort of solution oriented approach. So you can take the current environment of your business, or you can look at the challenges that the company has been facing over a period of time, or a department is facing over a period of time, or your company may have strategic goals, but there are certain obstacles which is stopping the business not to achieve those goals. That is where you have to pick the problem or a challenge. So this challenge will shape the research objective, questions, methodology, and data analysis as well. So avoid ambiguity as much as you can and address a real issue that is being part of the business. Now, usage of plastic, banning plastic, when you're talking about that, customer satisfaction, you're talking about that, reconciliation, when you're talking about that in the books of accounts, see how directly an application of your research finding is going to help that specific problem. So for which you need to understand the business context. You need to observe symptom versus problem. Symptom will be at the surface level issue. Okay, now let's say your sales, decline in sales is a symptom because it is a surface level issue. This month, someone achieves sales at a whooping amount, and next month, the sales decline. It's volatile. It's a surface level issue. I can't take that as a problem, but I can look at the trend over a period of time to analyze to see if this is a recurring problem. So over a period of quarters, first quarter, I look into it, second quarter, I redefine it, third quarter, and still it exists, then there is a problem. Something is going wrong. If sales is declining over a period of time, then there is definitely a problem, not at the surface level, but at the ground root level. So at the grassroots, I have to get that problem. I have to see the cause and effect relationship. Is it poor customers or retention strategy or the sales pitch is going bad? So surface level is never going to help your research. The root cause, that is where you need to get into. And always you should have engaging stakeholders to resolve the problem as well. That is really important in your research. And barring that, You also need to understand the concept of research aim. Research aim is pretty vital because that gives you a direction to a larger extent as well. Aim. Your aim is where the pathway is fixed for your research as well. So once you know this is the problem, you know which direction to walk in order to fulfill the problem as well. So an aim is always a force where a researcher will try to investigate that particular problem as well. So research aim is purpose oriented, research aim is directional, and your aim should always have a complete loop. You need to have a start point. You need to have an end point. A start point will always be a problem statement in a research for the aim. An end point will always be a solution, recommendation, or a scope of improvement. So research aim, it actually will overarch the goal or the purpose of your research dissertation itself. So it will actually give me as a direction to achieve or conduct the study in the way I need to focus and walk. So your aim should be clear. Your aim should have a statement, in fact, which can guide at every stage as well. So aim can be small enough, but your aim should always be achievable. So defining a purpose is where your aim can be made as a statement as well. So always understand a problem statement will help you to create an aim as well. So if I know this is where, let's say, sales declining over 2 years, then it's a problem. It's a huge problem because revenue generation of my business itself is hindered. So over a period of time, what I do, I create an aim to see how can I improve this, recoup the loss over a period of 2 years. So what is your aim? You have to have a purpose and keep your research focused to avoid drifting from any of the activities as well. So your aim should be clear, concise, and it should define in the form of a statement addressing that significant issue that you have identified in the problem statement. And then what happens? Your problem statement, your aim, and once your aim is structured, your research question comes into the picture. The questions are very important. I think by now you people are able to structure good amount of questions, but you have to narrow down further. Always your research questions should help you to filter, narrow down. The more you narrow down is the better you can get the questions. Don't confuse your survey or interview questions with the research questions. No, these research questions are the fundamental questions of your study. So these questions guide for the entire research project that you're undertaking. And this will define what you want to investigate, and it will help your study to keep focused. It ensures that your research is manageable, meaningful, and clear as well. So your question should explicitly state what you want to find out, and it should avoid any sort of ambiguous words as well. So the moment the reader reads your research question, they should understand, oh yeah, this is what Peter wants to do as part of his research. This is what Syed wants to create as an outcome as part of the research. It should be very clear, focused, your questions, which is why we say 2 questions are enough as a fundamental crux of research, and 3 objectives are enough. You correlate them, and then when you collect data with these 2 questions, elaborate further. That's why your variables, everything comes into the picture as well. So keep the questions as concise as you can. It should be researchable. That is the outcome. You must have access to enough reliable, relevant sources, and your audiences, respondents, should be in a position to aim to provide solutions through your research questions. So you begin with problem statement. You're connecting that with research aim, which is also a statement. You're connecting that with your research questions, and then you're structuring your research objectives. Again, like I mentioned, the objectives are always interconnected with your research questions. The more you talk about your questions, the more is a reflection of objectives. Sometimes people frame objectives and then come back to research questions. Excuse me. That is also fine. I wouldn't deny. But as a genuine researcher, it's always good you structure the question and then correlate to the objective. Now, what are objectives? Specific, measurable, actionable steps is where your objectives should revolve around, which means it should help you to achieve your overall research aim. So if your research aim is in the destination, the objectives are going to be the milestones. Let's say it's going to be a route map that will get you there over a period of time. So you have to break down broad idea into the manageable components guiding your research design, methodology, analysis. So your good objective can be specific. It has to be measurable, of course, because you're collecting data, primary data. It has to be achievable, and there must be relevance. Your title should not deviate from the objective. Sometimes when we read the title, come to the objective, we as researchers feel there's no correlation. So everything should be interconnected, which means your terminologies, your keywords are important, right? You're talking about customer satisfaction, stick to it. You're talking about customer engagement, stick to it. Don't divert your topic on different keywords, right? So get into relevance and the structure of the objectives. We use different action verbs, always your objective starts like this too. So we have action verbs like to examine, right? So can you guess what action verbs would be for objectives? To examine, action verbs becomes part of your objective. So you cannot just put it as a statement because it's part of your research. We try to get action verbs. That's like a written rule. You will find it in a lot of articles, to evaluate. All right, I'm getting the points there. The impact, all right. Impact can be part of your topic, Michael. A study on the impact of. So that can be part of your topic, the title of your research. Nikki, to determine, okay. To determine, I'll take that there. And analyze, yes. To analyze, that's correct. Yes. What else? These are action verbs. To investigate, good Nadira. To investigate. Sometimes you assess as well, no? To assess. And we also say to identify, So these are the terms we try to use. And few of y'all, if you get into practical, like the banking one, someone was talking, we can also say investigate, evaluate, examine. Okay, you can evaluate at that point of time there. I'm just putting it on the chat. So these are action verbs used in your objectives. So you can use these action verbs. So never start your objective with just impact of leadership. Those can be part of your title. Your topic can have a study on the impact of, let's say, leadership styles. We're looking at the leadership styles on the employee performance, especially in XYZ company. So that is part of your title. I can't have an objective impact on. right? So to examine, to evaluate. Okay, so after that, you can have to examine or to evaluate or to determine the impact of XYZ. You can have it. So always start your objectives with an action verb. All right, so that will help you build a structure as well. Now, I want to share this sheet, live Google Sheet with you. So please use that sheet. Just try to click on the link. It will take you to the spreadsheet here. I can already see 2 people. I have filtered the name as per the alphabetical order. Couple of things I want you to do before next week's session. That is before I can get into literature review. The first thing is student ID. Please fill this column across your name and please verify the spellings because these spellings are registered with the university. Just in case your spellings are incorrect, let me know so that we can request a change. Okay. And for your information, you have received login credentials of the university. I want every learner to activate these credentials. So email would have been sent to your inbox, the registered email address with Exceed College. The same email ID is given to the university. So university has directly reached to you all through the email ID, giving you the login credentials. So please activate your account with Plymouth Martian University. That's the first step. So I want you all to write or type your ID with the university here. And why I'm insisting you to activate the ID is from now on, any details pertaining to your results for your proposal, presentation, and dissertation will not appear in Exceed LMS. It will only appear in Plymouth Martian University Canvas. So for which the ID activation is mandatory. Should you have any concerns on the activation, please contact CAS. CAS will give you an ID, which you can raise as a request to the university for the ID activation. Jonas, what's the question?
Ma'am, it's related to the student ID. Usually the ID which was provided from Exceed and the ID which is now created from PMU is different. So which one we
Yes, it
have to
is
basically
different. From now on, please use margin ID.
margin
You
ID?
have to
Okay.
use PMU ID. I will just put here PMU for clarity. And please activate that particular account
Yes.
on
So my
margin.
yeah. So
Yeah,
my
go.
second questions yesterday I have already logged in
Okay.
and I'm not seeing any basically uh, assignment there or anything which
No,
is
there wouldn't be any assignments.
Mhm.
Rather, the proposal, presentation, dissertation, you can upload and Exceed. Okay. So Exceed, use the same Exceed wherever you're logged in now through the class, your credentials, that is where you upload your proposal, presentation, assignments for dissertation, everything. But the marks will be projected only on margin, canvas. So your final dissertation after board clearance, everything will be presented only in margin, not on Exceed. But parallelly, how you have been uploading assignments, everything, you can put it in Exceed. Okay, so
all right,
there's
ma'am.
no
Thank you.
difference on submissions. Submissions still remain with Exceed, but ID from now on your proposal, presentation, and dissertation, please use margin ID, which they have given you in the email. Please use that, which is why I'm insisting by next class, fill this column. It's an editable sheet. I have given access to all. So fill this column. Besides your name, please copy paste the ID. That's the first step. Second step, I want you to fill the research title. Whatever it is, tentative research title, because Thursday's class, I will add another tab, which I'm going to name, probably my first name I'm going to provide in that tab. I'm going to add another sheet here in which I will improvise the title for you. Are you getting the point? So which you need to take the first step. And now I cannot understand, let's say, Jonas. Now, I can't create a title for Jonas unless Jonas puts a tentative title across his name here. If only Jonas says supply chain in XYZ, something, whatever he feels at this point of time is appropriate, then the additional sheet here, I will refine your title. Okay, so you have 1 week from now, which is until Thursday's session, you have time. At least 4 days you will have handy, right? So ensure your student ID column is filled as per PMU. Research title, tentative. I'm not going to tell this is final. We're going to work it out. So even I think beginning of the session, the theme was trying to say, Mary, I'm not sure, I need help. Yeah, but the theme, if you can give me a tentative title, you know, where you want to look into your area of study, interest, that'll be great. In fact, your title should always have the inclusion of a sector. Your title should always have the inclusion of the geography. That's important. Do not forget. Please ensure your research title should cover a particular sector and also the geography. Which particular geography? Let's say few of y'all may be interested to do it in Saudi. Few of y'all may be interested to do it in one of the Asian countries. Few of y'all may be interested to do in a particular, like let's say Dubai, one of the Emirate. So geography is really important in your title. Okay, and the sector as well. Which particular sector? Okay, and sometimes you would just put the company in the title, reframe. We don't want the company, which is why we say sector. You know, sometimes on ethical consideration, because all these elements can be published. Your dissertation at some point of time, we can convert it to be published. So if the company gets to know, and if you are not taken in approval, that becomes another issue on ethical consideration. So always we appreciate the researchers to put up on sectors rather than upfront giving the company. Okay, so student ID, research title, problem statement. Like I told now, what exactly is the problem that you have identified, which you feel needs solution through your research, through your study? That's important. So put in the problem statement and gap. This gap you will get to know through literature review. There'll be multiple literatures, and some of you all may feel, I feel that, you know, this particular topic is not studied in this geography. So since I'm from this geography, I want to do a research to understand how different the setup of this geography is going to help in resolving this problem. So there'll be some gap. Geography is one such example. There'll be some gap in the existing literature for which read some of the articles for you to understand what the gap is so that your research can fulfill that gap. And then aim. What is the purpose? Thursday, I may ask, Michael, let me know what the purpose is of your study. So what aim do you have? You need to let me know that as well. And research objectives is really important. Structure 3 objectives. It's mandatory to have 3 objectives. And 2 research questions is what I'm looking at. But if you have 2 to 3, it is okay still. Okay, so A should be in one statement. And gap, you'll have to define what your gap is, right? You have to define and let me know what exactly is the gap is. I'm not looking for definition, but articulate what your gap is. And the problem statement. Existing problem. And this problem is what? Probed you to conduct research. And one more thing, see, in spreadsheet, as you type, the statement keeps prolonging. So please ensure you press Alt, Enter, so that within the column, the content goes and it does not, overlap other learners' work. So please ensure you get there. Okay, so problem statement. What is the existing problem? And what do you want to grow further through your study? Okay, so we will be revisiting this sheet on Thursday. In fact, I have built the sheet based on your work. This is your assignment brief for those of y'all who are trying to ask me what is. Okay, I see a chat here. We have view access only. I just refined it. Ajmal, please try now. I have refreshed it. Sheet is editable. Please look into it. Okay. And how do I know my PMU ID? Okay. Please go check your account, your email ID. In the inbox or spam, you would have received an email from Plymouth Marshall University on ID credentials. In fact, Cass has also sent a follow-up on the title or subject line of the email sent by university. So your PMA ID is reflected there. Please ensure to copy paste that. And for those of you all who are asking where the assignment brief is, this is your proposal. Okay, it's still view access, you mean to say? Let me check 1 minute. Can you try now? Just refresh your page. Now you should be able to. Yeah, I see people accessing. Please add your IDs. I already see Nadira. Okay. Refresh the page. There is an edit access. Please refresh your page. So if you could see my screen, see people are editing it. Please refresh. All right, Naman, I'm deleting this. Okay. See, beautiful. I've got it from Ditya, Miriam, Ajmal, Nadira, Naman. Nice. So people are editing it. Great. Likewise, please do work on your title. Could be on area of interest as well, or profession that you would wish to. So this is what I said. The more you type, it keeps increasing on the text. Oh, that's quick. Nadira is already getting into it. And please ensure you press Alt Enter so that, your columns. Nadira, press Alt Enter, crack it to 4 words and then Enter so that it spreads in the column and not across other columns. Oh, you people are already active on the sheet. So I'm going to revisit the page on Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday, I would add a page, probably a sheet per se, and whatever you have included in the first page remains your access. And the second sheet, I'm going to revise, refine to get into. So the first step I want you all to take which is going to be the first step. Like Nadira is already filled. Okay, so I don't want anything which is completely articulated as well. If you do it well and good, if not, if you're struggling, just give me your potential area of interest or your professional interest that you would like to study, and then sector and geography. From there, we can take it. See, Nadira has come up with South Africa there. And please ensure to add business management topic. All right, so look into those. And you people are live there. So how I created this sheet is your proposal. This is how your proposal appears. Thursday, I'm going to walk through your proposal. Wait for my weekly email. I'll give you an instruction on, articulation of your proposal as well. In fact, the project proposal is inclusive of 2,500 words. You need to get 2,500 words for your proposal. That's the max word count with 12 academic articles, which is mandatory. Beyond that will be well and good. That'll be exceptional contribution. So we are at title stage. So I want you to put a tentative title on the spreadsheet. All these blue content is explanation. What you need to focus on is only on the black text. See, introduction. First, when your title is ready, you get into introduction, which is 1,000 words. You need to provide brief introduction on your topic. We'll get there. So business, company, industry, your problem that is prevalent in the organization, particular sector or industry, and aim. In fact, my spreadsheet has this aim of the research, objectives, and the questions. So the spreadsheet is intended based on the structure here. So once when I help you, the spreadsheet automatically you can start working on these words. So wait for my weekly email in which I'll give you a structural outline until research questions. Okay, so first 2 questions, I will work it out because literature review is what I'll be starting in the next class. So introduction, research aim, research objectives, research questions, along with the title, project title. That is your proposal title. I will be providing the same. So please go through in the weekly email. So in your module kit, you'll be able to find out the proposal. Definitely in my weekly email, I'll be adding the proposal in a Word document and sending it across as well. Couple of Mariana, you can't, but you can see the modifications. Yes, it's on edit access. Please refresh. Sometimes, the page, if it's not refreshed, it may project that way, but it's on edit access. I can find people live. Probably you can log out, try again tomorrow. And the theme, refresh. Yes, the theme has answered that. And Monza, could you please send me the link to the sheet via email? I'm attending on my phone. Can't access. What's your email ID though, Monza? Let me know the email ID. Okay. And the sheet also will be provided spreadsheet access through the weekly email. So please go through my weekly email. It will have a lot of links, information, additional resources as well. So you will be in a better position to get that done. So go through the weekly email. Latest by Monday, you'll be receiving it. Latest by Wednesday, please fill the spreadsheet. All right. So I want you to literally fill the sheet. See, people have started to work. That's good. So latest by Wednesday, I want this to be filled. And the more you fill the title sheet, the better in the next tab I'll help you to enhance your question. Did you a case study? Case study wouldn't be permitted. See, this is why I say work on the sheet. upfront case study is not permitted by the university. So please revisit this. All right. So I'll continue the session on Thursday with literature review, keywords as well. So which is why I said put your topics there, because sometimes, you know, out of your interest, curiosity you would put, but there are university requisites as well. So we can rework on that. I'll help you to get it finalized. So by Wednesday, please finish it up. All right. Any questions for me? If not, I'll call it a wrap. Any questions? All good?
Yes, if I
Yes.
may. Whatever topic I choose and I wrote down on the sheet, is it something that I need to proceed with, or I can
You
later
still have
on
scope to
modify it?
improve. Yes, you still have scope to improve. But why I'm probably insisting to get it on is this will enable you to have somewhere, you know, reformed on your title topic to proceed with. Because generally, I think it was from Omar. Who was a question from?
Osama.
Osama. Okay. So Osama, generally people would rush only in that last week to finish their proposal. So like I was trying to say, Didier, you know, you can't have case study in the title. So these sort of corrections, we can make it at beginning stage itself so that you don't miss out on your evaluations. So sometimes students may take it during the last lap. You still have a scope to improve, but once you submit your proposal in the LMS, that's the end. You can't change it. So until then, you have liberty, of course.
Okay,
So
thanks.
that's nothing that you need to finalize at this point. But the better it is if you navigate based on the classes and the activities that we do so that everything is ready and you just need to get your 2,500 words on the proposal. So it's left up to you whether to work from now or at a later point. But once you submit in the LMS, that's the end. You can't change or reinvent the wheel for dissertation because we stick to the proposal. So your proposal should be a blueprint to work on your dissertation.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So have a pleasant night and a pleasant evening, everyone. Take care. I'll meet on next Thursday. Meanwhile, Wednesday should be the last target for you. Don't think that, okay, I'm too edgy, but I'm literally helping you to get somewhere in a good direction. So just put a little effort and we can work it out. So once your title, aim, problem statement, objectives, and questions is done, which means in your proposal, first 2 questions are done. You need not come back on that because I'm going to help you in refining the same. So all the best. I'll wait for your data entries on the sheet there and we'll meet on Thursday. Until then, please do take care and have a pleasant weekend. See you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Doctor. Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much. Pleasant night.
Bye bye.